You've got number 6 Georgia coming into Lexington to play the Kentucky Wildcats. You have the SEC East Championship game right there in the Bluegrass on a huge, huge weekend. I say 1950 because that 1950, Kentucky won the SEC Championship in football. Had a coach named Bryant. Heard he was pretty good at some other school too. But number 6 Georgia, number 6 Georgia, 7-1, and they lost to LSU behind the woodshed. Kentucky's also 7-1. They lost Texas A&M in overtime. You got big, strong, tall quarterback Jake Fromm. You know, he looks a little bit like that Drew Lock guy out there at Missouri. Kentucky took care of that. We're going to see how that goes. Kentucky's about running the ball and about playing defense and try to win by a slow beatdown. Georgia has got some big plays, and they're much improved from Florida. They showed they were much improved during that Florida game. But my question to both of y'all is, they going to mix it up, put Justin Fields in, or are they just going to kind of keep doing what they're doing? And the Wildcats, you know what? They threw for 200 yards. That's a big deal. You know what? Maybe they can throw and run now. What's going to happen down in Lexington, Mark?
Well, I'll tell you what, in this game, you can throw the record books out the window, throw the stats out the window, and everything else. Guess what? This is the game that Mark Stoops and Kentucky have probably been waiting for throughout his entire career, and I'm going to tell you why. If you look at Georgia, this is a football team that's just coming off the big victory against Florida, and everybody's patting them on the back. Yeah, you crushed Florida in the second half. That's our big rivalry game. That's the game we look forward to every year. It's a big cocktail party out there. You guys did a terrific job. You're riding high. If you look at Kentucky, they struggled in this football game all game until the fourth quarter. They came out and found a way to win, to grind a way to win. They're lying in the weeds right now. It's the perfect time for Mark Stoops and his Kentucky team to get going. Because right now, if you're Kirby Smart, do you stop the run? Do you put 8, 9 in the box and try to stop Benny Snell? Or now you've got a quarterback that can throw the football, that's proven he can push the football down the field. It's dealer's choice for this Kentucky offense. If I'm Kentucky, I come out throwing the ball to get Georgia on their heels in this football game. I think Kentucky right now is rolling. They're finding ways to win. There's always that team every year, Coach, that you look at and say, nah, they're not doing it pretty. How do they win that game? Oh, they shouldn't have won that game. But each and every week when you look at the scoreboard at the end of the game, Kentucky 24, Georgia 21.
I give Kentucky an awful lot of credit. I mean, it's been a marvelous year for them. And the good thing is, in the last game they played Louisville. Louisville's not very, very good this year. So usually that would be a challenge for Kentucky. But, you know, Kentucky has not given up more than 20 points in a game and all the entire year. And their one loss was 20-14, I think, A&M in overtime. However, for the last 3 weeks, Mark, Kentucky's not scored more than 15 points. They were lucky. They special teams very, very good. I think that Georgia will win the football game. And let me tell you, this is the biggest game, and we all said for years, in Kentucky. But they've never been there before. They don't know how to always handle that, Mark. So you have to learn how to compete. Then you have to learn how to win. Then you have to learn how to handle winning. In the big environment, you get caught up with all the lights and all the anticipation, the fans, and everybody's calling you for tickets, and all your buddies in high school want to have a chance to visit with you before the game. And so I don't think Kentucky will be able to handle that pressure and that limelight, whereas Georgia's been there before. Jake Fromm's been there before. I look for Georgia to beat Kentucky 27-14, but that will not diminish the outstanding year that Kentucky's had.
I'm going to go back in history a little bit to 1982 when there's a Washington Redskin coach against a Miami Dolphin coach, Don Shula, a Hall of Famer. The Redskins hadn't been there. They don't know how to win. They don't know how to get over the hump, but they won the Super Bowl. They beat Don Shula with Joe Gibbs at the helm. This can happen. It's happened before. History repeats itself. I'm looking for Kentucky in the upset.
Now, don't get me wrong, Mark, but Kentucky doesn't have the Hogs, and you were part of them in that offensive line. Let me tell you something else. That wasn't the first big game. You had a lot of big games to win the conference championship to be able to get there. You had been there. You've been able to handle it. We'll see, Mark. We'll see.
Well,
You're
Coach,
upsetting me. I want to tell you, I'm losing my emotions.
Coach, Kentucky offensive line coach John Schlarman from Fort Thomas Highlands. He's got some hogs. Remember, not big hogs, but he's got some hogs. But this 72nd meeting is going to be exciting. And Kentucky's played the #1 team there before and beat them in 2007, and I was there. In 3 or 4 overtimes, they beat #1 LSU at the time. But we'll see how that's going to go, and we know it's going to be exciting. But